Okay. Can we hear? I can't hear you. Oh my God. Hold on.
Every time.
Every time. I started recording already. I just want to get all
Me too.
this
I'm
in
hot.
there. Let's see.
I'm hot.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Hold on. Yeah.
I'll get these out.
There we go.
I was hot the whole time too.
Oh, good. Yeah. We're on. Welcome to the show.
We're ready to go. Welcome to the show. Welcome to this week's show. The Drop with Frank and Brian. I'm Frank. Brian.
I'm Brian.
And this is the show for this week.
It. Sometimes we will call each other first and get set up. This time I was like, record. I'm in.
Yeah, me too. Like as the phone was ringing, I'm just gonna hit record because sometimes the juicy bits get looked over, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of juicy bits, I had a little bit of anxiety about this whole thing earlier.
Hey, a little bit, yes. I was just about to say, let me show you all of the notes that I have for this week's episode.
Exactly like mine. Hold on, I have my glasses and I have nothing in front of me.
Same. I have my phone because I was just looking at TikTok.
That's our notes.
That's our notes.
Which TikTok videos are you looking at today?
My TikTok videos are so strange sometimes.
What do you
like? I swear, if you spend like just a couple extra seconds looking at something, they're just like, oh yeah, okay, here's 10,000 more of that thing, and now like it's weird. It's very strange.
TikTok or just the algorithm or just what you're seeing?
The algorithm, like I spent like just a little too long on one video watching it, and then now I'm just tons of videos like that. Like recently, for some reason I'm getting a lot of like Native American TikToks.
Yeah.
And like I don't know why. Like I mean, they're interesting.
Yeah. But
I just don't know why I started getting those. And then like one time I was okay, two things. This is going to be a little embarrassing. But two things. One time I was on Instagram and I guess I just looked too long at just this guy eating food.
Yeah.
And then I just got tons of videos of this dude eating food and was like, that's strange, but not too bad. Okay, the food looks delicious. That's fine. The second one, this might be the embarrassing one. I don't know if it was like some sort of like fitness thing or what it was, but my explore page on Instagram was like inundated with like bodybuilding dudes. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why am I getting all this stuff?
Have you ever... I've had to do this, you know what I mean? Like if you look at something weird, then like you said, you're suggesting, what does they call that page? Your suggested page on Instagram?
Yeah, like it's like For You page on TikTok, and I guess it's like the explore page.
Yeah, so like there's things on there I don't want to see. So I'll like click on it and then go to not interested, and I'll do that like 4 or 5 times, and it kind of
regulates it.
Yeah, filters it out.
I do that for some things. But I don't know. I just was I guess innocently just going along, and then I started to notice this trend, and I'm like, this is very odd. They're like, you like half naked guys flexing?
We're gonna show you all the half
all of them. So anyway, back to the anxiety before this episode, which is funny because just today, so we're recording on a Wednesday this week because we got again stuff to do this weekend. So we're recording again early this week. And you posted a clip today about having anxiety for doing like was talking about shows, but usually, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is interesting. Do people know about the code word?
I don't think so.
I mean, anyway, so
anytime if you're ever talking to Frank and he says that's interesting, just walk away.
Yeah, I'm pretty much checked out.
Yeah, he's done. He doesn't care what you're saying. He's thinking about other things in his head. And I've tested this on now road trips. Now that I know, I'll just be like talking and I'd say that's interesting, and you'll kind of be just looking off, and I'll say something else, and you just were like, yeah. I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with what I just said.
Dude, that's hilarious. Oh my God. So now I'm trying to figure out something else to say. I guess that's like when you're talking to somebody and like this happens quite often. You're like talking to someone and you're on your like 10th. oh, that's crazy, or that's cool.
Yeah, I feel bad
And-
sometimes because I'll have so much on my mind at a show or something like that, and someone will come up and talk to me. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's someone else, and you're just thinking about something else. And then you try,
Yeah,
then you get back into the conversation, and you're just like, "What did they say for the last few minutes?"
And then you like kind of covertly try to poke like little things to say to try to get back on track. You're like, yeah, oh, and what color did you paint it? And then they'd be like, oh, what are you talking about? Oh, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about what color you painted your truck.
It's extra special when you do it with your wife, when she's talking,
yeah.
and you're just like, "I have no what you."
But they know all the tricks. Like they know all the tricks. It's hard to fool them. It's hard to fool them.
Yeah, and Chelsea, my wife, also does it to me. She doesn't care about half the things I talk to her about.
It's a two-way street.
I'll just like be explaining something to her, and halfway through it, I look at her, I go, you don't care about any of this, do you?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "All right,
So that's interesting.
I'm gonna go call Frank."
He cares.
Oh, he
That's
cares.
interesting.
That's interesting, and then I just go to sleep.
Funny. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So we already had a topic kind of set aside for this episode, and
Yeah.
we were kind of piecing it together.
Yeah, I went.
We
through,
were gonna.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I went through my Facebook. All my.
Well, first of all, we got to talk about what we were going to talk about. We were going to talk about trucks in other countries, specifically like Japan, Australia, Canada. So that was going to be the topic for today. But
Yeah, so it's just such a big topic, and I thought, so okay, I went through my Instagram because I've been to New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. So I started going through my photos of like things that I've taken photos of, or trucks that I've taken photos of that I can talk about. And then I started realizing like I don't know about this truck. I just took a photo of it. Mm-hmm. And then there was a couple trucks in Thailand that I wanted to like touch on. And I'm just like, but I don't know anything about it. So in my head, I just see the podcast. I just see this podcast going like this. Oh yeah, that truck in Thailand. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, well, what is it? It's a Mitsubishi Triton. They only make them here. Like, I want to find out specifics, and I also want to find out the reason that more mini truckers do motor swaps in Australia versus here. I know the reason, but I want to find out the right way to set like the laws, like why we can't do them here when they can do them there, or Japan. I know there's strict smog laws in Japan. There's a lot of strict laws. And I want to find out about these things before we just dive into these trucks are cool.
yeah, no, I get it. And after you kind of like clarified the point, like we kind of owe it to the people watching because like this podcast is a way for us to get like in depth on topics, and we owe it to the people watching to like, if you're going to invest, if you want me to invest an hour of my time in listening to you, then you should invest an hour, or you should be prepared to have that person engage for that hour.
And then I also was like, I have a bunch of photos that I pulled off the computer, and I'm thinking like, okay, well, we're going to get a couple hundred people, 500 people watching this, but we're going to get X amount listening. I always forget that part where you have to focus on the listening part. That has to be the most important part. So we can't just go, oh, look at this truck, look at this truck, look at this
That's
truck.
true.
Because the
Yeah,
people that
I
are
didn't think of that.
in their car, they're just like, well, what is it? I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I just got a little anxiety, and then I freaked out, and I messaged you, and I was like, we have to put this off. We have to.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Hey, I could talk for an hour about anything. So whatever you want to discuss right now. So that will definitely be a future episode, and we'll put some real deep effort into that. Yeah. But kind of like what we were saying on last week's episode, it's a time consuming thing. So like, I feel like we just did the last episode. We're here on Wednesday, and I feel like we did because we uploaded that on Monday. Yeah. So we just did that episode. Yeah. And so like this thing is coming like pretty fast and furious,
That's the other part of it, is we talked about it being its own thing on top of the other things that we do. Mm-hmm. And it's on
top of life.
On top of life. So it's like we just did it. So it's
yeah. And we knew we were gonna run into these struggles at some point. Like we're just gonna have to accept that and kind of deal with it as it goes along.
Yeah.
To where we get to the point where we're like, okay, now what?
Yeah. So
it was easy in the beginning.
So what did you do today? Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. That's interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So if you're listening out there and there's certain topics you want us to discuss, let us know, because
I think there's definitely the topics that people want to discuss. That goes back to, like, us always asking, viewer questions and stuff like that. Like, people do have topics that they want us to not, they don't want to, maybe they do want to know our opinion, but they do definitely want us to maybe just mull it over, I guess.
Yeah, that's another hard part too, right? We have an opinion, but I don't want to listen to everyone's opinion all the time. I just want to listen to them discussing what it is.
Right. Just having a conversation.
Yeah.
I talked to a person, if they're listening, they know who they are, but I don't want to like put them on blast or anything like that. But I was talking to a person about, they were talking about our topic of like mini trucker, like what makes a mini trucker.
Yeah.
And this person had a pretty strong opinion on exactly what a mini trucker is. And I was like, yeah, no, that's great. I value that opinion. But me, after all of these discussions, I keep finding out that it's just too hard to make it like a black and white thing, and there's just so much gray area. And every conversation that we have, I always find myself coming out of it saying, oh, that's a good point. And I think that's what you're kind of like getting at is we're taking these topics and we're not like, this is what I think. It's sort of like, well, I mean, I think the conversation starts off like that, like, this is what I think, but then we get like, okay, well, that's a good point, but like, let's kind of like dissect that a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm 100% okay with giving my opinion. I'm a very opinionated person, but I think most people just don't care, or they think I'm wrong. But
yeah. But
so,
I think a lot more people do care.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. Let me rephrase that. I think a lot more people not necessarily care, like they need your opinion to shape their opinion. They're just very genuinely curious on what yours is.
Yeah, I guess that's true, because
that's podcasts in general.
Yeah, and that's also just people that are seen a lot. Like you want to know what do you think about this? Oh, and then it creates a discussion. And when it comes to like, I never want to just like revert back to viewer questions all the time, even though I love when people ask questions and like love answering questions. But some of those questions can just be a yes, a no, or a very 1, 2, 3 answer. But some of the questions create an entire topic on it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, keep hitting us on the Instagram with everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be something simple that turns into an entire hour-long conversation.
Right.
So
yeah, for sure.
So never think what you like. If you have a question, ask it. If you think that, hey, you guys should talk about this, tell us. We might not talk about it. We might talk about it, but we want to know.
Yeah. Got any of those for today?
And episode, what is this? 14?
14.
And it's
episode 14.
It's done.
Yeah, 13 minutes.
We never promised. Actually, we went over an hour on the guest episodes, so we can go under an hour on these two.
Yeah, that's true. Both, actually, all 3 of the guest episodes almost hit 2 hours.
Yeah, which is cool.
So
I like it.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, it was great, and we really got some good conversation out of that. That's what we're aiming for, is good conversation.
Yes. So, what do you want to talk
about? Well, you had a pretty interesting journey yesterday.
I did. So, I don't even know how to start that discussion.
First of all, we're going to talk about our show, the Forbidden Fantasy Show and Shine.
Yeah.
And when we say our show, we mean the club Forbidden Fantasy. Forbidden Fantasy. That's our club, and we're going to talk about that show. And forgive me. So yeah, we're going to talk about that show. And every year for the past 7 years? Has it been 7 years already? It's been at the Avi.
So 2016 was the first year at the Avi. So yeah, the first 2 years we had it at a place called Fireworks Family Fun Park in Moreno Valley, California. Then we moved it to Paris Fairgrounds in Paris, California, just south of there. And then in 2016 we moved it to Laughlin, which, if no one's familiar with Laughlin, it's like a mini Las Vegas on the Colorado River. So, and we had it there till 2019. Didn't have it in 2020.
Well, the interesting thing about the Avi is, although it is in Laughlin, it's not really. So the main topic that we're going to be talking about right now is that it doesn't really adhere to the same rules as like the city of Laughlin.
Yes. So the city of Laughlin is in Clark County, which is also where Vegas. Clark County is, where Las Vegas is, and it's also Laughlin. So where the Avi is, it's reservation land.
Right.
So basically, in 2020 we didn't have our show. 2021 we didn't have our show. 2022 we did, and we had to move it to the city of Laughlin to another facility because
The River Lodge.
The River Lodge, yeah, because the Avi was still not hosting large events due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So now we as a club want to take it back to the Avi because the Avi is amazing. The showgrounds, it's you're on grass, you're on the river, you have a beach, you have a pool, the casino's right there. I mean, everything is just right there, and we almost got spoiled there.
Whenever I'm explaining to somebody about the show, I always kind of like lead with that it's a destination show.
Yeah.
Like it's like a vacation. You know, back in the day when we used to throw shows or go to shows were like a very like it was all about just like the day of the show. You go to the show, and sometimes you would get there the day before and stay in like a hotel offsite, and then there'd be like hotel parties, and that was a lot of fun. And then you'd come to the show for the day, and then at the end of the day, you would go either more than likely go back to the hotels. At least like in the Lake Paris days, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Like you get there Friday, maybe drop off your ride, maybe not. Hotel party, day of the show, and then after the show, like another hotel party.
Yeah.
So that was fun for a really long time. And then, you know, at the Avi, like I said, when I tell people about it, I lead with it's a destination type show where it's not just a show, it's like the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So you get there, you park your ride, you're at this resort, you have all these great amenities, everything is on site. And so in my opinion, with the River Lodge, it had the same components, but not the same vibe.
Exactly.
And by that, I mean, it lacked the I guess continuity is the right word, where everything kind of flowed. At the Avi, you walk out, you're in the casino, you walk out of the doors, and there's the show. Yeah. It's on the grass. You know, we have a lot of rides on the grass, and then we have some also in the parking lot, but you're there. Everything is there, like kind of like flowing together. The whole thing flows together. The River Lodge, that's what it was lacking. The show was sort of like kind of removed, kind of like out in this parking lot. And so that's why you were saying that we got spoiled. I think that's why we got spoiled, because we had such a unique show experience.
Yes, it was, and I'm not going to lie, a little depressing walking out to the parking lot at the River Lodge, just because, for one, that parking lot that we use there is not maintained. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's got pebbles everywhere and all this stuff. And we tried to get a street sweeper in there. We couldn't find a company to do it. But you walk out, even yesterday I went to the Avi, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I walk out the back doors and the pool's right there. The grass is right there. You walk down to it's got its own private cove and beach where you can pull your boat in. It's got its own boat ramp. It's just everything right there. Like
it's the most ideal place.
It is. And the River Lodge, they have a pool, but it's on the other side of the casino. They have the casino, and then the parking lot, like I said, it's just not maintained, and it's just kind of, they do have
everything is very segregated.
It is. It's just not the Avi. So after the River Lodge, we were like, hey, what are we going to do? All right, I'm going to call.
Well, there's one. Hold on, I don't mean to cut you off, but while we're still on the subject of the River Lodge, there is one great thing about the River Lodge, is they were like, you guys do whatever you want. Like, yeah, they were very, very accommodating. They were just like, you guys just do literally whatever you want.
There was, and I'm not going to say everything was bad about the River Lodge. There were great things. The one biggest great thing, is that a thing? The biggest great thing? The greatest thing?
The greatest thing.
The greatest thing was the hotel size. It was much larger than the Avi as far as occupancy, and there were hotels right next door. So one of the things about the Avi is once they run out of rooms, you have to book 15 minutes away. But if they run out of rooms at the River Lodge, you're right next door at the other casino, at the Golden Nugget, or whatever. There's within walking distance. So that's a huge bonus, especially for me, because I don't have to deal with people like yelling at me because they didn't get a hotel room or something.
And that's the other thing that I kind of want to touch on very lightly is although it is a forbidden fantasy show, and our club is the one who hosts it and puts in all the work to make it happen, a lot of the responsibility for the show happening lays on your shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, because
so I don't know if a lot of people know that exactly how much effort you and other members in the club there are. I don't want to like disrespect our club or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because everybody puts their maximum effort into it, but the actual mechanics of the show happening do fall squarely on your shoulders.
Yeah, and it's because
as well as other people.
Yeah, I think it's because I okay. There's like when we were at this goes back to the Paris days, and I think it's like a PTSD thing, and this is why I do this at the Avi. There was a year where there was a big fight, and the police came in, and the SWAT team came in and broke the show up, and they sent everyone home, and it was just a mess, right? Mm-hmm. So
the infamous one,
right? So. So we always spent the rest of the following years trying to figure out how not to get the police involved and how to make the Paris Fairgrounds happy, and all this stuff because we didn't want the show to get canceled like that again, or shut down. So at the Avi, at the Paris Fairgrounds, we had to have as many people there as possible to make money because it was a huge bill. You know what I mean to foot that place. At the Avi, it's a totally different story. We have room for about 375 vehicles, and that's it. And we want the 375 vehicles that are there. We want them, as many as possible, to be our friends. You know what I mean? Like our friends in the mini truck scene, all over the world. We want them there. So since we're a mini truck club doing a mini truck show, we kind of got in a little bit of trouble back when we moved to the Avi because I don't know if you remember the post that I put up, and I said,
"No, I do. I was gonna hold on one second." All right, we're back. That was wow. That was something.
Did the chair just slip out from under you?
I like just overextended myself just trying to hit record on the camera. That motherfucker just boop. Oh my god. Okay. All right. So I don't know how this is gonna come out, but yeah, basically,
we're gonna put something in there. But basically, yeah, tell them what happened.
Yeah. So for our audio listeners and our video listeners, if the way however this thing gets cut, I just literally fell out of my chair while we were recording. Yeah, I just was leaning over too far, and the chair is just like, this is not happening.
Yeah, we're done.
This is definitely not happening. It just freaking fell. I can only imagine what that looked like on your end.
For me, it just looked like I was like, that motherfucker's gone.
Okay, all right.
It was more funny because I instantly pictured us posting this to Instagram.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh,
that's definitely going on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. If we thought that today's episode was going to lack some sort of excitement,
we were wrong.
We got it back. All right.
All right. So back to
we got to get back on topic. So we were talking about the Avi.
Yeah. Are you?
We're talking about the show.
You're recording audio and everything. You're good.
Yeah, everything's good. Let me get one of these. I didn't do that last time, so that's going to be fun for you.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, so back to what we were talking about. So we're talking about the Avi. I think the last thing we left off on was like the Lake Paris. How not necessarily like, I mean, was it complicated? Because like I got into the club in 2015, which was I think that was the last show at Lake Paris Fairgrounds, right?
It was, and so
I only got like a small taste of exactly. I had been going to the Forbidden Fantasy show since 2001. That was my first Forbidden Fantasy show. But that year, being in the club, being a member in the club in 2015, that was like my first and last exposure to that. So it wasn't big.
So the whole reason that we moved to the Avi was because the show was just taking up so much time for everybody. You know, we would start rolling, what was it, early on like Friday, and then people would have to get there early Saturday, and then 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and no one had time to enjoy themselves. You know, people would come down from Canada or come over from different chapters, and they thought, oh, it was going to be a good time. No, it's 100%.
It was work.
It was 100% work. Yeah.
Oh, that's sorry. That refreshed my memory on exactly what we were talking about you making that post. It was another kind of infamous part of the whole show, the show's history.
Yeah. So when
because so when we moved it, I'll lead it off and then you kind of go into to a little more explanation. And I remember this very vividly because we were coming back from a show in Florida. We were coming back from Slamfest, and it was the year before or the winter before the show because our show's usually in spring. And you had put the statement out there saying that if you want to park on the grass at the Avi, because there's going to be grass parking. Oh no, am I wrong?
Yep.
Okay, then you go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
I know exactly where you were going with that, but
Right.
So
that's a different
a different thing. A whole different controversial subject that I started that ended up being good.
Oh.
So
Okay, so then I don't know this first one then.
So the first one was like I was saying at Paris, we had to attract, we could only fill it with a few hundred mini truckers, and then other than that, we needed like lowriders, we needed other vehicles to fill the gaps to make enough income to have the show there. So we would have to promote it to like, the I don't want donk clubs or whatever clubs they were.
Mm-hmm. Well, back then we used to call them like dub cars.
Yeah, dub cars, all that stuff. So when we made the change to the Avi, we didn't need the filler. We just needed the mini trucks. So I had to make a post that said, I basically did this, and it was wrong on my part. I should have done it differently. I said, if your truck looks like this, and I put a photo up, then you shouldn't come. This is not your show. I didn't mean it like your truck's a pile of junk. These ones are better. All I did was, and also this truck that I posted had a club logo on it of a very big club. So either
and we would call I don't know the right correct terminology, but back then we call them baller clubs, right?
I didn't, but that term was used.
People used.
But this was a very big club, and I got a lot of interesting messages in my Facebook and all this stuff. And the thing was, I knew people in these clubs, but it didn't matter. They were mad, and but basically what I was saying is those clubs roll so deep that we just don't have the room, and also we're a mini truck club, so we're going to judge based on mini truck modifications, so your car might have more things done to it, but it's not going to pique our interest, and you probably won't get a trophy. And we don't want you to be upset. I just wanted to put it right out there. So the entire goal of moving to the Avi and to fill that place up with pretty much people that we know, this goes back to me like doing a lot of work behind the scenes before it, and the hotel rooms and all this stuff. I don't know where we were going with that, but yeah, there's a lot of work involved with making sure that hotel and that show is filled up with the people that we want there, because I don't want to have to worry about a fight breaking out and the show getting shut down. I don't have to worry about something like things getting damaged, things getting stolen, this, and that. So if we can fill it and control it as much as possible, then that worry, because that's always my biggest worry, is something bad's going to happen and the show gets shut down, because I have PTSD from when the show did get shut down.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that it's filled with as many people as we know, so that doesn't happen.
Right.
So
I don't recall that. Maybe I do. So remember it, but I don't recall.
What you're talking about is
which was the next controversial thing.
But I never posted it.
Oh, you never did?
No.
Oh, this was only like a word of mouth thing?
So I didn't make that final decision. What we're talking about is the obvious split up into two show sections. There's the grass section and the asphalt. So there were rumblings. I think there were rumblings because we were talking about it. So maybe there was a post and that what happened. But basically, we're talking about putting only paint, like your truck or car has to be fully painted to be on the grass. If you have even a speck of primer, like shaved door handles, you go on the asphalt. The idea of splitting clubs apart is never a popular one.
Right.
So
and that was like the biggest bone of contention, I think.
I think that's what you were talking about, but I didn't make.
Yeah, no, that's what I definitely was talking about. And I was more talking to that in context about, because the I think this conversation is about, us moving the show around, either being at the River Lodge or the Avi, and why the Avi is unique, and all the little things that make it unique. And we started off by saying it's the layout of the show, and then I think this is another thing that makes it unique is the fact that we have this. Is it a rule or is it just a thing that we do? Like, so, what would you consider it?
I don't know, but it didn't. The final decision was not made until we started rolling cars in. So we didn't, the night before, this wasn't a thing. We were just going to park as they rolled in. But as they, like, I remember on the radio, I think it was Erica was like, hey, we're rolling them in. And then Joey opened the gate, and I looked at Jesse from our club, who was in charge of, who was doing parking. I said, painted cars on the grass, primer cars in the parking lot. And he goes,
in the parking lot.
He goes, you sure? I said, yeah. And it was definitely a little bit of a...
The first year, I mean, so before the show even happened, because you're saying that there were rumblings, but there was already people, so there are already people aware that this might have happened. Mm-hmm. And there was already a lot of, like, you know, like I said, bones of contention, like people, maybe upset is a strong word, but they definitely had their own opinions on how it should be. And especially the biggest opinion was like splitting clubs up. Like, how can you split us up between these two things? And there was like a lot of like back and forth, but two things that came out of that, I think. One was once everybody kind of got over the initial shock of it actually happening, and then they viewed how it looked. Mm-hmm. It looked amazing to have these top-notch vehicles sitting on the grass right next to the water is incredible. Yeah. It was incredible looking. And so the byproduct of that, and this is like one thing that I really think is important, is the byproduct of that is it made the people who weren't on the grass motivated to get on the grass.
Yes.
And literally the next year, I remember a guy specifically, the guy from Bio, I don't know the name. I think it's Bio something is the name of his club.
Biodrop.
Biodrop, yeah. The guy with the brown Toyota.
Corey.
Okay. So he specifically said, the only reason this truck is painted now is because of what happened last year. So I think that was a really good byproduct, and it really motivated people to kind of like, you know, really get out there with the goal of doing this. And it sounds very pretentious on our part, but it's not meant to be.
Yeah. And there's so many other little small things in there. Like when we used to do club participation, the things that people would drag in only to get that award, you know, it's just like,
oh yeah. I've been to plenty of shows, not necessarily the Forbidden Fantasy show, but I've been to shows where it looks like a literal rent a car, you know.
Yeah. So and again, with us not having we can't make more room at the Avi, so we were limited on space. So we didn't even have a club participation trophy. We just got rid of it completely because we wanted the clubs to bring out, I don't want to say the best of the best, you know what I mean? Because everybody wants
that's like subjective.
Yeah. And there were some clubs when they came up, they said, no, we don't want to split our club up, and they all parked in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And which is fine. I totally respect that because I would have done the same thing at some point. And then there were a couple clubs throughout the years that I would talk to, and I'd be like, hey, why don't you? I said, you guys have some really rad looking vehicles. Why don't you get them on the grass? That will help the other members of your club want to also do that. And it was also the year Mini Truckin' Magazine went away. And so there was,
that's right.
There was this thing where it's like, there was so many people building their trucks to try to get in the magazine, and then that went away. Mm-hmm. And so then
so it's almost like they needed some sort of like goal.
Yeah. And then I remember a few people told me, they said, this is now my goal is to get on the grass at Forbidden. Mm-hmm. So when you built this whole thing up of the grass and it's almost like the winter circle or Pebble Beach or something, you know what I mean? Like
it's become almost like folklore too, because since we had the show at the River Lodge, which didn't have any grass, that sprouted like a whole thing of people bringing in fake grass and stuff it became like a I think lore is the best way to put it.
Yeah, because people would say...
I'm sorry, cut you off.
No, it's fine. They would say, come park on the grass or the grass. It just became a joke. A running, not joke, but like you said, a lore.
Yeah, joke, which is like a running thing.
But like, yeah, so when you go to the River Lodge and it's just asphalt, not great asphalt either because they don't maintain the parking lot, but you're just like, ugh. There was no excitement for me personally. It was excitement because my friends were there and we hadn't had a Forbidden show in a couple of years. And so... Yeah. That was the excitement. But now I'm thinking, Oh, and I was going to say Laid to Rest was the club that they had to have spent $2,000 on AstroTurf.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they brought all these. I remember it was Friday night, and they got to the front gate with rolls of AstroTurf to put on. They had to move all their cars forward, lay out the AstroTurf, and back them all up. So that was
really quick side note on that club. They always do great stuff like that for all the shows, like the Day to Remember show in Pahrump that Freaks of Nature hosts. Last year they had a bowling tournament, and so they came through with like not just like some cheesy bowling shirts, like legit bowling shirts that were embroidered. Like those dudes always come out hard for events, and that's I appreciate it because it's really cool.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it makes everything so much
note.
more fun when people do that, when clubs do stuff like that. But yeah, so I guess are we going to fast forward now to what's going on?
I think we were saying all of that to kind of like lay the groundwork by us kind of explaining the evolution of the show, by me, kind of like solidifying the fact that you are responsible for the mechanics of the show, for the show happening, and the differences between the two properties is leading up to the fact that it's pretty difficult to throw this show. And you went out to Laughlin yesterday and you found it to be even more difficult. Another, not difficult, but another hurdle to overcome, so to speak.
Essentially, leading up to this year's show, 2022, at the end of 2021, the CEO or guy in charge at the Avi, I would call him once a month and to get if there was any updates. Well, it came down towards the end of the year, and we had to make a decision. Like, we have to tell people where the show's going to be. They have to book hotel rooms, all this stuff. So we changed it to the River Lodge. So right after the River Lodge show this year, I got on the phone with the Avi. And what I was finding out was no one that was there from even 2020 was there in 2021, and no one from 2021 was there in 2022. So all my emails were getting kicked back. The people that we had worked with in the past and created these great relationships with were not there. So it's almost like starting over. So I finally talked to one of the guys who was there, remembers the show. He wasn't in the position that he is in now, but he said, "Yeah, I remember you guys. You guys were great. There was one of the best events we've ever had. We want to bring it back." So I'm like, "Heck yes, this is awesome." He's like, "I just have to get a hold of my boss and he'll call you." So that's when I posted that picture of the Avi pool on the FFF show Instagram page.
Oh yeah,
because I was like, this feels good. It feels like we're going back.
It feels like how it should be.
And I didn't want to say we're going back, so I just posted the picture of the pool, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And then I didn't get a phone call for a week, and then 2 weeks, and then I called him, left a voice message, nothing. Called the other guy back, nothing. Emailed, "Hey man, just trying to get a hold of the guy that I need to get a hold of." He's like, "Yeah, I told him. Hopefully he'll reach out to you." This was 2.5 months of things. So finally I just emailed the guy and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town," which it's 3.5 hour drive for me. I said, "I'm just going to be in town. I'm going to stop by." And he said, "Okay, I'll make sure the guy that you're supposed to talk to is here." So I got up yesterday morning, drove out there, and I didn't have an official meeting. We just kind of stood in the lobby, but basically got the answers that we needed to get. And the answer was not no, but the answer was not yes.
Yeah, it's a very, like everything else, like everything we talk about, there's a little gray area.
Yeah, and this gray area is they are not having events at this time. Mm-hmm. Are they going to have events? They started to have events, and then they pulled back. They have, like we said before, they have their own rules. They do what they want when it comes to...
Which is what I was kind of preluding earlier in this conversation, that it's not Laughlin. It's not Laughlin, Nevada. I mean, although I think... I don't even know if it's... Whatever. It's native land. It's a tribe that... Because, like, even when we do have the show, and, like, as vendors, we have to do, like, these special permits through the tribe to like, sell stuff there. So it's a completely different process.
Yeah.
And so we're really like we're really not victim, but we're really like just sort of like held to what they want to do. Like we can't say anything.
Yeah, because say if you like when we go to the River Lodge and we get a special permit through the county or the city, that holds. You go to the Avi, and if they could you could sign a contract saying you're going to have the show a month before the show, they could be like, no, we're not doing it. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So right now, as of right now, we can't have the show there. That might change in a month. That might change in 2 months. So now we're back to 2021 again. And what do we do? Do we, it's just like gambling, right? Because I asked him, I said, well, what if I just say, okay, we're going to have a show on this date. We can take everyone's pre-reg. We can, get people booked into the hotel. But then it comes down to 2 months before the show, and we can't have the show, so we have to refund everyone's pre-reg. We have to have them cancel the hotel rooms. If people booked their flights or got time off work, like it's all a thing. It's all a thing that like it's a destination show, like you said, and it's not just running down the street or running to a show for a day and coming back. It's an entire.
And that was sort of like, again, what I was like preluding to earlier was like this show. It's not just okay, we're gonna go to the show on Saturday. That's cool. It's like, okay, people need to take time off of work, and it's like they make these plans. Like, and now with the way people are with their careers and with their families and stuff, like there needs to be a lot of planning involved. So yeah, it's a very sticky situation.
So now, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I know. Like after all of this conversation, what it comes down to is just like it's still unknown. We don't know because like if we. It's almost like you're at an impasse because if you do the show again, the River Lodge next year, people are going to go like, well, look, it's never going to be back at the Avi, so there's no reason for me to go.
Yeah.
But then if you don't have it, then you break that cycle of having it every year. So and like I said, as I said, that this falls squarely on your shoulders. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. And the thing is like, when it comes to like being a show promoter and throwing a show, you have to keep everything up or else you will get taken over. Right. And this says, sound like, so if we don't have the show next year, we're like, all right, we're going to take a year off. Someone's going to throw a show it's March. This is when before summer and after summer is when you throw shows in the desert. And if someone comes in and slides into March and throws a show, and then we try to throw a show the following year that same time, then we're jerks.
Yeah, No, I know it's a really good problem to have, I guess, because there are so many shows. Things have really evolved over the years because, if you were throwing a show in SoCal and a guy was throwing a show in Utah, those would have no bearing on each other. But now with the way that everybody travels and everything is so interconnected, that's not a good idea because a show in SoCal or a show in Utah or a show in Oregon, people start having to making decisions. They're like, well, which one am I going to go to?
And they make those decisions based on where the show is. So Graham's show, Rolling in the Red Rocks, it's like it's a month and a half after ours. But if you're traveling and buying plane tickets and or trailering from another state, and you go and I say, okay, we're gonna have the show. It's gonna be at the Avi. So people make plans to go to that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go to the Forbidden Show and not Red Rocks. And then we don't have it at the Avi, and they go, well, if I knew it wasn't gonna be at the Avi, I would have went to the Red Rocks. So it's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair. You always have to be upfront with people, and never. You're not in this for yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're just you have to be in it for the people that go to the show and the participants, and if they're having fun, then your show's gonna succeed. So you can't fake the front. So if we say we're going to do it at the River Lodge, we have to say it and be upfront about it so people can make that decision of where they want to go. Because I know for a fact some people would go, well, I don't want to go to the River Lodge because I don't like that show area.
Right. And that's a valid, fair point.
100%. If I want to put this out there, if we do have it at the River Lodge, we're not going to have it in that parking lot that we did. It will be in the park.
That's new information to me.
Yeah, no one knows this. And in fact, like yesterday when I was on the club message, the SoCal message text, I told everyone in the club, I was like, I'll update everyone tonight on the Facebook group, and I didn't. So I'm going to do that. I'll do that today before this episode comes out. So people in the club,
this episode comes out, so they're not blindsided.
Yeah, they're like, what? I didn't even know. But essentially, there are some options. There's the parking structure at the River Lodge, which the parking structure is accessible by the main road. So say you had a lifted truck, you can get it to the top of the parking structure, and it's nice cement. It overlooks the water. It overlooks the pool. It's actually more connected.
That it is.
It is.
It is actually more connected.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, no, that'd be actually pretty cool. And that'd be a unique feature.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to stand up. No, I was very cautious on that one. I was getting up very slowly.
So Frank has his camera. It's a little bit older, and older cameras can record only to 28 minutes and then they stop. So every 25-ish minutes, 20-ish minutes, Frank has to get up, push record, and start a new file. So
if you ever see, like, if you ever, because on audio, it's pretty seamless, like no one really knows. But if you're watching the visual version on one of our channels and you see like all the weird cuts, that's my fault. Because I'm having to stop and record every 25 minutes or so.
But we also cut other things out too. Like if Chelsea comes home right now, my dog's going to go crazy and we'll cut that out. But what were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about the parking structure.
The parking structure.
That would be a really cool feature. And you know what's interesting, what's funny is as of lately there have been so many people talking about throwing parking lot structure shows.
Well, Ronnie from C10 Talk.
Oh yeah, that's where kind of
The reunion, they did throw one there, and my biggest worry. Well, Adam in our club, Adam Sinner, has always said we should throw a show in the parking structure, and the reason he says that is because Woost, the VW show in Vegas, was in the parking structure, and it was always rad. But my biggest worry was the heat.
That's my concern.
Like you're in an oven or really terrible lighting. You know, like
that's for
Laughlin
photos.
Laughlin is well, and Laughlin just itself is they don't update a lot of stuff. So they might have those old orange lights in there. I don't even know. I drove through the parking structure at the Harrah's yesterday and I didn't like it. And anyways,
we're in the middle of summer, so it was pretty warm in there.
It was hot, but at Ronnie's event in Arizona, it was 90 something degrees outside, and it was about 10 to 15 degrees cooler in the parking structure. So I don't know if that's because the cement has not been soaking in heat for months on end. You know what I mean? Like it cools down at night, so it cools the parking structure down, and it keeps the parking structure cool during the day. So we have options.
Yeah,
but I don't know, and I don't know what we're gonna do yet. But we're definitely. I was getting a little grumpy last year saying that we weren't going to have a show and stuff, but I think we have to. If we even have the opportunity or the inkling that we're allowed to be back at the Avi, I want to keep it going.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the show has become part of the fabric of our club. I think it'd be kind of weird not to do it. Like being an existing club, Forbidden Fantasy, and not throwing the Forbidden Fantasy show would be weird.
It would. And I was thinking too in the back of my head, like our club, that's kind of our club's get together is our show.
That's exactly what you're saying. And kind of like to touch back on that point from earlier, you were saying that like people would come from, Canada or outside the country or other states come to the show in Paris, and it wasn't really what they experienced or what they thought it was going to be. So kind of a quick side note, before it was, now the club would used to get together at SEMA every year. Like that was a club get together. But now that this whole thing is a little more laxed and kind of like a little more loose, this has become also our get together for the year.
Yeah, because at Lake Paris Fairgrounds, we had to keep a certain, if you had a staff shirt on, well, we needed as much staff as possible because we had classes. So we needed 20 judges. We needed all these staff. And if you're wearing a staff shirt, you couldn't drink alcohol because we had to represent ourselves in a certain way.
Right.
So then people would go back to the hotels, party, but you had to be back. Some people had to be back at 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
It was just not fun. And you could see it wearing on people, and people from like Canada would come down. And I remember Rich, they came down the first day. I was like, hey, you're judging. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, we need someone to judge. So you're judging. And, but now, like you said, at the Avi, we don't need 30, 40 staff people. So it's a voluntary thing with the club. So if you want to work, you can. If you don't, you can hang out and party.
And we have some great members who are very dedicated to what they do. We have members who have very specific jobs that they've had for 10 plus years, and they're very good at doing it. And it works out great. And then the people, to be honest with you, that's me, like myself. I don't really, it sounds terrible. I don't really help. I sit at the booth. I drink all weekend, but I'm not like getting involved in the show. But like you said, that's the option that everybody has, and there's no sweat or no one's tripping over anything. It's just everybody still has a good time.
Throwing a show, I've always said, can make or break a club. Because when you first start, you're like, everyone has to be involved. We want everyone involved. We want everyone to work. Everyone has to put in their fair share, which is, yes, you know what I mean? I get it. But as time goes by, there are certain people that do not want to be involved in it. They didn't get in a club to throw a show. They got in a club to go to shows. Then there's some people in the club that just love working the show. You know, we have Erica and Patty, like they love doing in our club. They love doing what they do. Joey loves working the gate. Adam loves doing certain things. And then there's some people that just are like, I don't want to have anything to do with this show. I just want to come and hang out with my friends. And that's fine. We had to come to that like determination that that's okay.
Yeah, there was definitely like a turning point. Like moving the show out to Laughlin, you know, it gets the stigma of, oh, you're like taking your show out of California. Why? Like there's all this like, you know, other stuff behind it. But it was actually like it's making me have a realization that it was a turning point too. Because
it was a huge turning point.
Right. And it really kind of like, it was a turning point for the better is what I'm saying. Yeah.
It was. And I think that and it goes all the way back now to where we can't have it at the Avi. So it makes me sad.
Yeah. No, yeah. And
because
that's sort of like what this conversation's about.
It was such a good turning point for the club, but it goes again. This goes back to me, just wanting to see everyone have a good time. If I could see No Regrets over there having a good time, Severed having a good time, these guys out in the parking lot having a good time, in our club having a good time, that's what makes me have a good time. And when I don't see that, I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah, but at the same time, everybody's still. Even at the River Lodge with all of its, I don't want to say problems, but with all of its unique features happening, people still had a great time. I had a blast.
Oh, yeah,
it was a ton of fun. And I think people will have a blast no matter what.
Yeah, and I mean, people even came up to me and they're like, I like this spot better than the Avi.
I heard both. Yeah, I heard both all weekend.
Yeah, because again, both have its positives and negatives. But the goal is to get it back to the Avi. So there might be this might not be a 1, 2, 3 year transitioning period. This might be a 4-year transition period.
Which at the beginning of the whole thing, you know, we're kind of dancing around the issue, but COVID, like, it's been unknown the entire time, and this is still the remnants of that happening. And it's not talking it's not talking on anything in particular about that subject, other than it's still just, you know, things are just starting to like come back. I don't know how I want to say that, but you understand the sentiment that I'm trying to say.
Yeah, COVID is still affecting certain things, and this is just one of them. And regardless of anyone's opinion on anything, and there doesn't matter your opinion on it, because these are the facts. I can't go in there and scream at the people and tell them like, this doesn't make any sense, because they don't care. Yeah, the goal is to get back there. So the goal is to work with them to try to get back there, and in the meantime we have to do this. But I was going to say something else about this whole thing, and I got off track. Yeah, but anyways, more information to come on that.
Yeah So this episode kind of was like a deep dive into the detail on what it takes to throw the Forbidden Fantasy show, I think.
I think
because
so.
it's involved, and it takes a lot of moving parts, as any show. Like, one thing that I've always realized it. It's not like I was oblivious to the fact, but now working so closely with these show promoters for all these shows that we go to, it's at the end of every video that I make, I always thank the people who are throwing the show. I always comment on that they're doing a good job and on how much work goes into it. And it sounds contrived and it sounds like repetitive, but it's because it's so true. Like, you go to a show like Mini Nats and you have, you know, I don't know exactly how many cars there are, but hundreds of vehicles in attendance, and trophies and schedules and cruising and all of this stuff that comes together. You do realize that like it's a big hard job to do. And there are people who want to throw shows who are talking about throwing shows, and they're starting to understand, you know, the logistics that goes behind it. So it's a complicated thing. So I'm thankful for every show that we go to. Any show that we can go to and it's there and it's working, I gotta like, you know, be thankful for that.
Yeah, it blows me away too. Like when I spent that week out there with the guys from LST setting up, filming them, that brought me right back to the Paris Fairgrounds days of like the big show, you know. And then you go to our show. So I don't want to say easy to throw because we've just had a whole episode on why it's not. Mm-hmm. But compared to that, the pre-show is so much easier.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and all these shows they're in different states, different cities, different counties, different locations. They all have so many different factors that they're dealing with, whether it's laws or rules or no rules
or weather
or weather. Yeah, everything. And so each one is unique. So just because our show is this doesn't mean that relates to this show over here. So every show is different, and it's really interesting to see all that come together for each of them.
You kind of glossed over it, but I want to make a point to say it, that you did film a documentary on LST on the whole show from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Everybody should really go check that out. Go to the Grinder TV channel, which is this? I don't even know what's happening. Oh, no, this is an even number. So this is on my channel. But so go back to the Grinder TV channel, look up the LST documentary. It's great. You did a great job on that. It was really fun.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And in fact, I had my camera with me at the Avi.
Oh, you did?
And I had my camera with me when we did the auto mixer. So the auto mixer was a show that we were testing out at the River Lodge in 2021.
2021. Yep.
In
October.
Yeah, and it actually helped us work with that facility to get the Forbidden Show. Anyways, I had my camera there too because I was like, I'm going to film a vlog about throwing a show, and then I just never materialized in it. So I'm kind of just putting together small things. So maybe when we do get back to the Avi, I'm going to release a video about everything that I've been doing behind the scenes.
That'd be cool. Maybe make a documentary on the Forbidden Fantasy show. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know, but making a documentary on yourself,
that would,
is very hard.
It.
So I'm just going to make it like kind of fun and to the point. Like, like yesterday, for example, it's like I just woke up or just decided driving 3.5 hours. I talked to them for 10 minutes in the lobby, not even an official meeting. The guy might not even have been there. Who knows? And then I had lunch and drove all the way home.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's what I'm saying. Like that's the thing. That's when I say like stuff falls squarely on your shoulders. It's that little thing, you know, like to do that to make sure to at least get the wheel a little bit moving, you know.
I know the whole time I'm like, you know, if you would have just called me back,
I would not have to drive 6 hours.
Today I have to finish editing videos I could have edited yesterday. Now I'm a day behind, and it's just like, but again, you got to be nice and smile because you want your event.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. So, no, this was a cool episode. I think me falling, that was fun.
I could not wait.
Angie is going to lose her mind. She's going to laugh so hard because one of Angie's most favorite things in the world is me hurting myself.
I thought you were going to say people falling, but no, it's specifically you hurting.
Like, and not like, you know, hurting myself badly, but just little stuff like that. Like she's gonna laugh
to make her laugh at night. You have to punch yourself in the face.
It's not that bad. Sorry, Angie, if I gave it any wrong impression.
We just got an insight into Frank's life.
Yeah. So cool. Anything else going on? You're coming out to SoCal this weekend, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the film. This and then another thing too. It's like this month just became like a really busy month for me. And so it's gonna get really interesting when we do have to start filming these on random days or
we're kind of back. We've been saying that for a while, but this is kind of it. We're kind of in it now. We're just like I said. I felt like we just did one. So, but that's what we're just gonna have to do to keep creating this content.
Imagine the daily vloggers that get real big. Man. Have you ever seen like? There's Casey, obviously. Nice stat, but then there's other vloggers. There's in fact a vlogging documentary about the original guys that started vlogging That's what got me into YouTube and stuff. But it's so interesting to see how the expectation to make a video every day either made their lives great or completely ruined them over time.
Yeah.
So we're just sitting here like, oh, we just have to sit here and bullshit for an hour. Imagine having to make a video every single day.
Yeah. No, I couldn't. Actually couldn't imagine. I've tried. I thought like at one time like the key to success is filming every day, but I don't know. After hearing stories, because even Casey, the most successful person, did it. Almost his relationship almost ended in divorce, because of it. So
you're trying to find content to film, and so you eventually just start filming, I don't know, your wife or your kids or whatever, and then that turns into an entire life-changing thing. Screw that. This is hard enough.
Yeah, I know. But hey, we're doing it. And thanks for everybody who tunes in every week. I know there's a few people out there who like listen every week. I know there are some people, Jose, who are many episodes behind. But no, that's cool too. I understand, everybody investing an hour or two of their life every week is that's a lot to ask.
Yeah, and sharing it when you are listening to it, tagging us.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, rating the podcast, commenting on the YouTube stuff. After this, we should run the commercial of one of the commercials for Chemical Guys.
That's right. Let's do it. So I think we're done here. Are we done here? I think we're done here.
Are you done here?
I'm done here. So thanks for checking out this week's episode and watch this commercial. Don't forget, livelifecustom.com, grinder-tv.com. And we'll see you next week.
And you can get this hat. And I'm going to end this episode because I edit. I'm going to edit this episode.
This one?
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Yeah,
this one. I showed this one.
Oh, that one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that one too. All available on the website. And I'm going to end this episode because I am the one that edits these.
Yeah.
With Frank falling off the chair. See you guys later.
Bye.